What is up, everyone? We are back for another episode of the Parks Podcast. This is our 5th episode. Again, today we have Reggy Cox here on the line to discuss Labocosmetica products. Up until this point, we have had the episodes very structured. I encourage you, if you've not seen those yet, to go back and check them out. There's some really great information in those. But today we're going to take a little bit of a different direction. We're going to keep it Labocosmetica related, but we're going to do a Q&A. So about halfway through our first 4 episodes, I set up an email address, and we've had a lot of really good questions submitted. So if you guys ever have questions, please feel free to email them to podcast@parkscarcare.com, and we'll make sure to answer them. So got some really good questions lined up today, and look forward to getting into these, man.
Yeah, me too, man. This is a little bit of an inspirational podcast. We were not supposed to do this a little bit later on, but because of the questions, we might as well throw one in between before we start going deep into the products and the categories and the techniques and stuff like that. So I think this is a good opportunity. And like you said, I've seen a couple of these questions, and they're really good ones in there. So it's a very good opportunity to discuss them as well.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I know our next episode, originally we were going to do the exterior protection, non-ceramic coating exterior protection, which I'm still super excited to get into that one because you guys have some pretty unique products. And we've actually got some questions about those, but yeah, we're going to pump the brakes on that one for a second and do a little bit of Q&A because we have quite a few questions stacked up here so far. So I'll just jump right into it, man. So polishing off HPC or HPC Pro on top of SAM, STC, or Blendo.
Oh,
how does that work? Because we actually, when I got this question, I was like, man, we never discussed that during the coding podcast. That's a really good question.
Okay, so we're gonna keep it what I know, and what I can prove. So if there's SAM and HPC 2.0, HPC Pro, I mean, if it's like a black finishing pad in combination with Fiero, it is possible that you could remove it without removing the base coat, in this case, the STC or the SAM. But the problem is after the application or after the polishing, the surface will feel very smooth because of the transformation of Fiero. So you will have to degrease multiple times with Veritas 1 to 3 to make sure. And then at some point, even if Fiero is beating off the Veritas in the beginning, at some point, the SAM is going to beat off the Veritas. So one of the two things, both are going to look like they are hydrophobic, but you don't know if you're removing Fiero fully before SAM starts to reveal itself again. That would mean, this is a really good one. By God, this is a really good question.
Like, what's your verification for knowing that you're ready to reapply the top coat? I see what you're saying. Because if they're both going to bead, that's difficult.
It's to prove that the underlying coating is still there, and I don't think in the use of Fiero you can do that, because if you remove Fiero from paint, then at some point the liquid is going to stay flat, so there's no rejection of liquid anymore. So that the hydrophobicity, it is going to look flat. But if the ceramic coating is coming back to life, or you're taking off the old top coat, so to speak, both of them going to look beady. So I would say it's going to be best case scenario, you do what you can with the black finishing pad and Fiero, and then reapply an HPC 2.0 and assume the base coat is still there. But I don't think you can prove it.
Sure. So my first question is, what if you don't use Fiero? Is anything else just going to be too abrasive, like from your guys' lineup, like you would be compromising the base coat?
I probably will go. Maybe you can even go outside of Labocosmetica and dive in the dedicated polishing brands without naming them. But they have a couple of finishers in there that don't leave anything behind, that are true finishers. And in that case, after using a true finisher that leaves nothing behind, then you can say, okay, I Veritas it, and then when it comes to life, you can say I've removed the top coat, and you can start reapplying a coat, or substituting for a different top coat, or moving to a topping product, whatever the choices you would like to make.
Sure. And really, under what circumstances would you do that? I mean, it's until I adopted your guys' lineup, it's been so many years since I've used dual layer coatings. So I'm used to, if the coating is damaged or whatever, you're polishing it off and completely reapplying. So like what circumstances would you want to only polish off the top coating and reapply that?
Yeah, that's what Blendo was designed for. So Blendo gives you a sacrificial layer of a new layer with resin that is going to be the one that's going to take in the damage instead of the clear coat. Then that coating is rough to the feel. We'll need a new top coat, or we'll have to have a top coat in order to perform well. Over time, the base coat can outlast the top coat always. So after 2 years, top coat is dead. We have a bad looking coating because Blendo is looking bad because of all the washing scratches inside of Blendo. Then you can polish Blendo with even a Leale and say, okay, after the test, I do Veritas. And when the hydrophobicity starts coming back, you know for sure that you still have some Blendo. We will not debate about how much of that Blendo is still there, but it's still there. So then you have a visual reference that you can see, that you can reapply to, and something that you can test by the removing of alcohol, polishing residue, everything is gone. And then when there's a rejection of Veritas or a hydrophobic Veritas becoming on that coating, then you can say the coating is still there and reapply your top coat to give it back that smoothness and that chemical protection and the beading and the extras that coming from a top coat.
So Blendo will bead on its own. Not that you would ever use it as like a standalone coating, obviously, but like I've just never tested that because anytime I've installed Blendo, I've installed it and then gone to the HPC Pro. But
yeah, I would not call it beading, but you will see that if you put a liquid like Veritas 123 on it and everything is properly degreased, that Veritas 123 will sheet off more nice and slowly. So there was nothing to be left. That is the physical reference. You can also use a special ink pen, an ink pen to measure the amount. Yeah, also in the Blendo, what's it called? The Blendo research, we use that hydrophobicity pen to prove the before and after if the coating was still there.
Yeah, those pens come with like a chart, don't they?
Yeah.
It's like a reference chart of how much is it separating and contact angle and stuff
60,
like that.
90, 120, something like this. Different colors, the bright, ultra translucent, pinky, yellowy, orangey, that type of, a little bit of the marker type of an ink.
Yeah, cool. Okay, so Blendo or STC, which is better?
Both have capabilities. STC is by itself already some more chemical protection than Blendo, where Blendo has more physical. So it's, if a good installation, there would be more Blendo on the surface compared to the amount of STC to the surface. Installation, preferably people see that STC is easier to them or has more of a feel for nicer installation, where Blendo in the wrong hands or with too much time can feel like glue, or Blendo Plus in this case. But with everything comes experience, comes easiness. So Blendo repairable, STC very durable, and you get bang for buck because you get a lot of coating for the amount of money you pay compared to Blendo, where Blendo is mostly in 30 ml, and 30 ml is substitutional for one car. I mean, with Blendo, I would not cheat too much. Try to get as much of that coating on the car as possible. STC has the benefits of going on multiple surfaces like wheels, where Blendo, when you're already using that 30 ml for the car, there's not enough material left to coat 4 wheels inside and out with the top coat on top. STC has that capability, so many benefits. I would say personal preference. I like Blendo so much, because you can repair it, you can repolish it, and I'm not repolishing, recompounding it, but refinish it, so to speak. So that coating is still repairable. STC also, but less provable. Where Blendo is easy to prove, it's still there. So, but it's definitely personal preference. Which is better is depending on what kind of a detailer you are, how many cars you do, what kind of a customer you got, how they treat the cars. I mean, everybody knows, if your customer is already going through the car wash, it might not be the best to give him the triple layer, high performance, ultra self-cleaning super coating, because if he's already going to the car wash and it makes the coating a little bit obsolete.
Yeah, for sure. So it sounds like there isn't a better one. It's just circumstantial. Like if guys are selling a lot of wheels off with paint being coated, it's STC is kind of be the no-brainer. Otherwise, you're going to be buying a Blendo kit plus a bottle of STC. But I've always, if it's just paint being coated, I've always just leaned towards Blendo.
Me too. So. Same.
Okay. So this one is from Megan. I'm not going to even try to pronounce her last name because I will butcher it. I think you know this person.
Megan Prudhomme. Prudhomme, I
Yes.
believe.
Okay.
Her
Yeah.
name is
I'm
Prudhomme. I
so
don't know
glad
if
that
I'm
you.
pronouncing. Yeah, I'll take the fall for this one for the pronunciation.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. Really enjoyed your podcast with Reggie. I have a few questions for you guys. Which is the best combination for maximum durability, SAM plus HPC or HPC Pro, and why? They both have a durability of 60,000 kilometers, but I want to know the difference between the two. I want to offer the best option for my customers here in Canada, Quebec, with cold, salt, horrible winter conditions.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for this one. I'm gonna think about. I went there, so I know what it looks like. Snow, the salt. I would say the combination, the better combination, is going to be SAM and HPC 2.0. If I'm really honest, I'll probably say I'm gonna give it SAM standalone, see how long it survives, and then add HPC 2.0 when you reach the end of the standalone as SAM. That's what I would do. Why SAM? Because it had so this. I am not going to make statements, but this paper, look for this paper, self-assembled monolayer technology, and then try to read a little bit. And I'm speaking more to the viewer now because this paper is very difficult to understand for somebody who doesn't know chemistry. So I'm not going to say anything, but basically what's going on is that formulation of SAM, when you put it onto a car in combination with humidity, oxygen, sunlight, builds itself up to a layer. So there will be a physical layer on your car, not like HPC Pro. HPC Pro is more like a flexible layer that can be rubbed off, where SAM, you will have to rub you have to make so much abrasion and friction to rub SAM off. You can destroy the hydrophobics very fast, yes, but the coating is much, much more physically washing resistant. So the combination choosing, very smart, by the way, to see that two coatings together can reach 60K and one layer of HPC Pro can potentially reach the same. And we know that potentially means that if everything goes right, from the installation to the amount, to the care, to the washing resistance, to the amount of friction applied, because friction is what HPC Pro doesn't like. Strong, abrasive friction. So using wool mitts, stuff like that, anything that can abrade more in combination with the grit, the dirt, the contamination, the lubrication, all those factors put into each other. Would it make it in the hands of a customer just to be smart enough to give him some more physical protection that is more difficult to be rubbed off or worn off or worn off, something like this?
Sure. So that's something you said is really interesting to me. You would install SAM and then wait until it's taken a little bit of a beating and then put on HPC, versus I know what I feel like 90% of detailers would think is more is better out the gate. Go ahead and double stack it. But you would intentionally not.
Yeah, because I know what it can do by itself. I mean, I have enjoyed this coating so much over the years, and then and it's almost as easy as apply. It's not as easy as HPC 2.0, will give you that, but the old HPC and SAM were similar in behavior and wipe off and darkening and everything. And we have done amazing projects with this product. And I was always thinking SAM and HPC it seems like an overkill. SAM is so good by itself already that I would just, use this coating. And I used it on so many customers' cars. And when they over exceed the mileage, I mean by a lot. So 30K is the max for SAM, it says. But I got a guy that drove 43K and it was brand spanking new. There was no wear, no tear, nor nothing. A couple of 3 pH washes, but a lot of mileage in a very short period of time. Coating was still there. So the years in combination is definitely depending on the frequency. So if somebody pumps in 60, so I pump in about 50K miles a year, something like this. Not a little bit more, a little bit less, but to easily calculate it, 70K in kilometers, so about 50K in miles. So my coating survives a lot longer and faster because, I drive these miles and it doesn't wear that much because I don't apply too much friction or abrasion. I use chemicals a lot to make sure that everything the chemical can do does it for me before I start touching the car. So SAM by itself is fantastic. And then adding something later on, so as an extra surface, so SAM is trying to die off, and instead of trying to revive it every 3 months with a topping product that's going to die in that 3 months. So you're literally stacking on protection on protection on protection. I don't know what else. Then I would say if SAM starts to die after a year, or you see failures starting to happen, just give it a little touch up. You apply HPC 2.0, and it has the hydrophobics, the chemical resistance. And then if it lasts only for a year, I will still be happy with it, because the entire project lasted for 2 years. Everything is fine. I got the miles. I will be happy, and the customer will definitely be happy as well.
Yeah, that's a really, really smart way of looking at it, because from a business perspective, like providing a service, if you're doing this for a living, if you sell them the double layer out the gate, they're obviously going to be more bummed out if that salt and that harsh weather that she's dealing with wears it out, versus you sell them the single layer SAM at a friendlier price point and just kind of prepare them that, like, hey, we live in a very harsh environment. It's going to take a beating, but hey, when it does, I have this topping product that I can put on it. And for anyone who's not installed HPC 2.0 or HPC Pro, you do not need to charge a lot for the application of it. Now, the prep work, I understand that that's going to vary greatly depending on like what kind of project you're dealing with. But
Agreed.
Like in this situation, if it's taking a little bit of wear, you could lightly polish that SAM, it sounds like, with like Fiero and a black pad.
Yeah.
And apply that HPC 2.0. That is not a difficult job. Like, that is very, very easy. Applying that coating is so simple. And so you could get that, for a reasonable price point, and kind of gives a new lease on life for that coating for another, however long, 1 or 2 years. So
I would say
a good way of doing it.
Yeah, let's look at it for a different way. What is more realistic? If I apply 1 layer of coating, let it sit for 1.5 years, make a small polish, then apply that second HPC 2.0, let it drive another 1.5 years. I got it for 3 years. The entire amount of 3 years, the car's going to look like it's going to look like a lot longer fantastic in those 3 years than when you apply 1 coating double layer in the beginning and then look at it after 3 years. If there's happening something in between, the car's going to look amazing. There will be less contamination. So the frequency of treatment is going to go up, but the amount of effort put in is going to be little, and the amount of money, because flying around with Fiero for 1 route, my God, that's nothing. And then applying an HPC 2.0 in 15 minutes, that's also nothing. And you can generate so much in such a little amount of time, and the car's going to look amazing. And that is, in the end goal, the majority of the rule, I would say, that the car needs to look amazing. I don't care if it's not beating anymore, if it still looks amazing. I would hate it that it looks like crap and it's beating. So I got swirls and stuff like that, and I got beats. So the only thing I got to show for is a shitty looking car with beating. I want a great looking car. Okay, that might not be beating, but at least that it looks fantastic, especially for the customer, man.
Yeah, no, that's really, really smart. I would have not thought of approaching it that way.
Dutch guy saving money.
Hey, no, I mean, it's, the customers appreciate that when you educate them on it, and they're getting the most for their money, and you're not setting yourself up as the service provider to have a disappointed customer. So
true.
Okay, another question from Megan: the difference between physical and chemical. For example, Blendo is 100% physical, HPC Pro is 100% chemical. What does this mean?
That is a fantastic question, of course, because this is what happens when you throw something out there, and we talked about it a lot, but we did not give any strong visual references to what physicality would mean. So what I did is I took a little piece of clip, I put it inside, and we are going to look at the clip. This is Blendo cured in a refrigerator after 12 hours, pure. And this is what Blendo looks like when it dries up. You have a sheet of resin that is physical. There is no doubt about it that you have something left on the surface. That is what we mean with physical. And as you could see in the clip, Blendo is 100% physical. It's clear as glass. There's just the glass-like substance of the coating. And then when you look at, I cannot give you an example of HPC when it dries up, but if you look at HPC when it dries up, there's no glass, there's no powder, there's more like a sticky, rubbery membrane. something like a plasticky looking, very difficult to understand. Sometimes it looks like a condom. Old HPC. If you throw that in water and you will leave it, the solvents would evaporate, and you would have a very thin layer of a membrane of polymers. So it would still, we would not say that's physical, because you can just rip it apart, and when you pack it up in those little pieces, there's nothing left other than sort of a sticky substance. That is the chemical part. So the suede, if you have something physical, the suede will often feel like there's something rock hard inside. That is the physical part. If you feel that with STC, you feel a different hardness, because there's physical and chemical together. So it feels hard, yes, but there's also something else inside, and that is what Blendo doesn't have. It doesn't have any chemical protection, because it's just pure 100% of that beautiful resin that is then on your car, protecting that clear coat. That is being protected and protecting the protection. Woo!
Great explanation. Could not have said it better. Yeah, because this is a really good question.
Normally, when we do coating training, or whatever you would call it, so I would say it's not an accreditation training. It's just, look, guys, this is a coating. When everything goes right, it goes right, and sometimes it goes wrong. And today we're going to discuss what to do when it goes wrong, and then show indeed the differences in physical and chemical. So when the coating day starts in the beginning, I drip all the coatings over a little hood or something, and I let them dry out, and then they can see what happens. And when it dries up, and I put it in the suede, and I show the suedes, and everybody starts seeing and feeling, so they get an idea what is left on the car. I will never have this piece of glass amount of Blendo that would generate, I would say, 2.2 liters of Blendo before you get the entire car with a coating like that.
Yeah.
So we are talking about a very thin layer, very thin, not that thick.
Yeah. Is there ever a situation like this just popped into my mind because you were talking about like dripping it on the car? Is there ever a scenario where you would have to like sand off STC or Blendo? Okay.
Yeah. There's maybe, if you look at it, if you go to Alpha Details Melbourne Instagram, you will get if you English speaking and you want some good information, then this is like a library of information. And then they have this situation where they dried in STC, and then they are starting to remove it. And this is deliberate. This is deliberate. It's not like they make this mistake, because they are amazing detailers. So, but they use sanding and everything, and you can see how long it takes if you leave that amount on the surface for that long. You know, it integrates with the paint, and you have like a structure line over the paint, and then you have to sand out, and it looks very dramatic. But this is factually what happens. When you have that little amount, you can polish it off with a very good compound, and probably a rotary, a good wool pad. Keep it at a nice angle of 45 degrees, and you will slice almost every coating in the industry off like that.
Okay. So really it would only be under extreme circumstances, like dripping it. It's not like because I've not tested this myself, like applying Blendo or STC, but just leaving like egregious high spots, you know, where you like put it on and you just didn't wipe it off. Like that wouldn't require sanding. Okay.
Yeah, I hope. I'm not going to say anything, because before somebody starts testing this, but Reggie said you can sand it off.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So another question from Megan: the best combination for polishing? I always use Audace and Fiero, sometimes Leale between the two steps of Audace and Fiero for sensitive paint.
Okay, so maybe do you have access to your website right now? Do you have an example of a microfiber? I would say microfiber cutting, microfiber polishing pad with a nice interface. It's like a 1/2 inch interface, most of the time yellow, white fibers, something like this. Because that, ladies and gentlemen, is the ultimate pad. That type, not specific pad, that type of pad with Leale is mind-blowing. It's the one step we decided to name one step. The combination that can cut but leave a finish acceptable enough to be called a finish. I'm not going to say crystal clear for a nice finishing, but that type of a pad. It is 1/2 inch, most time yellow, 5 inch, 125 millimeters, and then this long microfiber on there that feels a little bit like the double face type of a cloth.
This is probably the closest thing I have to what you're describing.
Exactly like that.
Okay.
I'm gonna pop this up in the super screen. Yeah, something like this. I believe you guys also have something in the United States, the Eurofiber, something like this. that is also some combination. That is also, I tested Leale with that as well. Oh, that is beautiful. That's what Leale was designed for. The best polishing compound test of the system or combination is mostly depending on what you would like to do. But the idea is, or the philosophy was from these compounds that they are separate polishing system. So they have their capabilities, they have their pros, they have their cons. But the idea for Audace was that you can cut at an extreme level, but also go closer to an acceptable finish. And the goal is to end in the cutting range of Fiero. So Audace's finish range should be Fiero's cutting range. So if you overlap then with each other, then you only need the two, Audace and Fiero. But I understand, scratches are never the same everywhere. It might the left underside, they are deeper in the mid. So sometimes you even have to use all three. But the idea was to always finish with two. So it could be Audace, Leale. Sometimes you can, if you practice enough, you can finish so much with Leale. If you don't want to use a super finisher that leaves something behind. I would say, oh man, Leale, Fiero by itself, Fiero in combination with Lake Country HDO pads. Holy crap! From Belgian guy taught me Audi paint, blue HDO Lake Country with Fiero killer combo. Also hugely loved, popular. Oh, what more? I'm not a fan, I have to say, for Audace and Rotary. Not the Rotary guy for Audace. I like it, but it's slower for me. I work slowly with Audace. If I want to go up the tempo and I need some more speed and I want to keep it on an angle and it doesn't matter where the dust is going to go, I probably dive into something from Mafra. But I think she's already on point. If most of the time she does it with Audace and Fiero, and that's already the idea of the philosophy. There's just 2 steps instead of 3. So you need 1 bottle less, you need 1 polishing pad less, and you can finish the job in 60% of the time instead of 100% of the time through doing 3 stages.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I had the most experience out of your guys' lineup with Fiero just because we were doing so much new car protection. It was a lot of PPF plus coatings. So it was actually fun getting to experiment with Fiero to see how much you can get out of it, depending on the pad selection. Like you were mentioning, I mean, we have ShineMate pads. We're kind of phasing out Lake Country from our site, but they have some pads very similar to the ones that you're describing. And it was always fun to see like how much can we get done with Fiero, because it's pretty surprising. I mean, but obviously, as soon as you get out of like that new car territory where it's got some car wash scratches and stuff like that, it's not going to handle that. So
I wish it was easy, man. I wish it was like that you can do everything with one magical compound or something like that. But it's different damages, different paints, different depths, different colors, different everything.
Hey, 2 steps is I don't know. When I started doing this, that was like a black car that was super hammered, 15 years ago. Getting it done in 2 steps, it was like, good luck, man. Not going to happen.
15 steps, repeating 7 steps the same time just to make sure that you're 100% sure it's the polish doing it. Is it the machine making the marring? Is it me making the marring? Is it the polish making the marring? Is the alcohol making the marring? Where's the marring? I need to get rid of this marring. Where's that finisher that is going to finish everything? And this is,
it sounds like the old cranky detailer, but it's like people don't realize how good they have it, man. Like, it used to be. And then the guys older than me are saying, you have no idea how it was in my day. And I mean, I'm sure because, like it was, man, it was just so hard to finish down a black car that long ago. And now, I mean, with the machines, the pads and the liquids, it's just like, man, I see average DIY skill level people get pretty amazing results at home. Like that would have been unheard of back then, because it'd be like, dude, don't put this on your car. You are going to make it look worse. You're not going to be happy.
Yay for evolution, because these are the things you mean. Can you imagine you still had to do it like back then? You'll probably not do it anymore. Probably not. At some point you're going to say, this is not for me. Maybe I'm going to butcher, garbage man, gardener, something like this, something I can manage, baker, get up early, finish early.
It's gotten easier and also way faster.
Yeah.
Way faster.
Quality is there. The time efficiency is there. So I would say that's a big jump up.
Well, thank you for the great questions, Megan. That was awesome.
Absolutely.
Next question is from David. He emailed this in. Don't have a last name. Hello, I would like to ask if I have other non-ceramic protection on my car, spray wax, hybrid wax, sealant, detailer, etc. What products should I use for regular washes and which for decon reset washes?
Yeah, it's still going to be Purifica and Primus. If you have a protected car and you want to kill everything that needs to be on the car except the protection, then you take Primus. And if you want to take off something extra, if you need some lime scales, some incrustations, some mineral deposits, and you want to rinse them off with the one and only legendary Purifica, then you are most welcome too. And I will clarify to you why that is. So if you guys in the United States, so you see the rise in upcoming products coming from Korea, but you have to understand that now you have them, but they have been there for a very long time. So there are products there that you have not even heard of. There are slickness levels that you have never even experienced. I mean, my God, you're just touching the world of slickness. So, stuff so slick out there. I mean, if you just touch the microfiber, you will slip the microfiber, land with your chin, your tongue will go through your teeth, you will break your nose. It is extremely slick. So these people don't do the magical detailing with polishing, correction. They do as much as they can, very dedicated and very disciplined, many times per week if necessary. They have 15 foam gums with them. They have 25 different detergents with them. Coatings, I don't know, in the coating world, they mostly apply like what they are applying from the Katiba line, more the spray coatings and stuff like that. And they have maintained their coatings or their spray coatings and waxes and stuff like that successfully with 3pH. That is why 3pH is so extremely popular in Korea compared to the rest of the world. I mean, it's popular everywhere, but not on the level in Korea. There is a reason why the Katiba guys have their own 3pH line from Labocosmetica, their own scent, their own bottle, their own size. That's the only guys in the world because 3pH is so popular there. They are using it.
They're dialed in with the important stuff, the maintenance.
Yeah, so it's the same. The guy from Katiba says the same thing. And they say, are you going to make detergents? No, we have Labocosmetica where we make detergents for. I mean, my God, but there's nothing that you can do above that. They say, okay, same with us. Well, no, they will not use the Perfectas because they have the availability of different types of spray coatings that suit their demand. So spray, wipe, and you're done. And you have beading for I don't know how long. Performance, we could debate about it, but you cannot debate about the instant beading. And they will maintain their quick detailer that they apply every 2 weeks with a 3pH wash. Preparation, Primus, and then decontamination, Purifica. They know for sure that even if the beads don't come back, they are already at a level of cleanliness that a wipe down and a reapplication finishes the job. So either way, it's going to add one step to the finish, or it's not going to add to a step for the finish. But then
believe it or not, guys, there's actually such a thing as just doing really good maintenance. I hate to say it, but it's like America has just gone. Our market is just so aggressive with the marketing from a lot of these coating brands that people have just gone completely, have lost sight of the entire purpose. Like the coating is there to be degraded. It's there to get worn out. You should still maintain it. Like, it's not this thing where you just put it on and you go, okay, now for 8 years, I'm set and I'm just going to wash it with one shampoo. It's like, no matter what your protection is, coating, or like you said, you can even do it with like a boosted quick detailer, by maintaining it correctly with the right process and the right products, it's going to keep it looking fantastic. But it's just, you can't get around it. Unfortunately, there's no product, I guess you could say PPF, but even then, I've seen PPF cars that we've done, like the longest one where the customer hasn't sold it, I still see it. It's been like 7 or 8 years. It's a white car, a full front, and it looks great. And they're coming close to 100,000 miles, which I'm like, and just so people know, that is exceptional. That is not normal. They've just done a very good job maintaining it, but 100,000 miles. So they're not just parking it in the garage, but they are on the maintenance. And I've seen PPF cars in 12 months. I'm like, oh man, this film is beat. It's just, it's gone through the car, the brush wash, all these things. And it's like, or it just doesn't get washed and it's like under trees and stuff. So, I mean, even the pinnacle of protection, which is PPF, the maintenance still applies, man. It's part of the deal. So
I totally agree, man. But it's there should be more into the maintenance than into the actual application.
So this is the continuation of David's question. I'm going to try my best. I'm guessing he wrote this in a rush, or maybe it was voice to text or something. We'll try to decode it here. He said, I mean, Purifica is not suitable for regular washes if I don't have ceramic protection on the car, but is Primus sufficient as a pre-wash, or pH neutral foam and pH neutral shampoo is the only thing I should use on those?
No, man.
I get what he's saying.
If you want to use Primus every single day because the car is dirty and you want to use Primus every single day, there is no problem using Primus every single day, except for your wallet, except for washing, except for your time, and except for overkill. But you can use Primus as often if you want. And the same goes for Purifica. You can use Purifica every single day if you want. But what is the reason to use the shampoo? Are you actually fixing something? Are you trying to maintain something? Because if you say, okay, I make 1 ounce in 2.2 gallons of water, you're still at a pH of 5. You're still doing maintenance with Purifica. So if it needs to be 1 ounce in 32 ounces of water as a pre-spray for every panel, you already higher into the decontamination. And if you do 1 ounce in 16 ounces, then you're in the highest level of decontamination. But that 1 ounce divided over 3 levels can generate so much more. If you want to use Purifica, of course. I mean, 1 ounce, 2.2 gallons of water, you got 1 to 400 dilution, something like this. Your pH is still around 5. So you're very acidic. You don't have to worry about anything. You're breaking down the water, its hardness. All benefits start opening up for stuff like that. And if it just needs to be a naked, it's all down to the friction that we're going to apply. So Primus combination with friction makes the chemical completely different. And then you can say, okay, but I'm moving the grid around and destroying the protection underneath. Purifica the same. You start rubbing it with a high friction mechanical action. So the sponge, for me, the sponge is absolutely not something that's very slick. I don't like the sponge at all. But if it's necessary, it's there. But there are so many more things that create less surface tension, pick up dirt more, and at least keep it in the tool and not dividing it back over to the car. Because if these freaking sponges are so freaking good, why are only the edges extremely dirty and never something in the middle? So if you're rubbing it around over the surface and they are saying it's picking up everything, that means that all the dirt should go all over the sponge. But it's always only here in the deep edges, that deep black edge and a little bit dirt here, meaning that all the dirt is accustoming, you're scraping it off and it's getting stuck over here, or else it would be here. They are rolling the microfiber for a reason. If you do the same with the microfiber, everything stays in the front. It's like wiping the mop over the floor. If you push the sand away, the sand is going to be in the front, not in the back. But if you roll it and it goes up, then you're lifting it up and then you're dispersing it and replacing it to another location. But you can use these chemicals every single day, no problem.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of the sponges. I'm more of like I know they're really popular for rinseless, but like I've always been in the camp of whether it's rinseless or regular washing, if the car is super, super dirty, don't be lazy and just use one piece of wash media. Like grab a few mitts, use one, and then like you said, the rolling technique, obviously wash, rinse bucket, all that. Eventually at some point I look at it and I'm like, no, I'm just going to go get another one, or just keep trading them out, because I don't think there's anything out there that I'm aware of, at least, that, is going to pick up all the dirt efficiently and release the dirt efficiently enough that you could do an entire really dirty vehicle without reintroducing, dirt into the car. So yeah, I think, his question, it sounds like it's a little hard. I think I'm reading it correctly, but he's basically saying, like, if I don't have ceramic on my car, Purifica and Primus are okay, which you said, like the reason it's so popular in Korea, people are using it even on like a boosted quick detailer. So, but I get why he thinks that, because a lot of the alkaline and acidic products out there, like the soaps and detergents and stuff, like are not that way. You know, like if you're using a high alkaline, some of these shampoos, like you would be removing that protection every single time. So
True. And there's one thing that people tend to forget, or not even know at all, but what's inside. So there's stuff inside making it alkaline, and there's stuff inside that helps the liquid divide over the surface. So surfactant behavior. The surfactant is breaking the surface tension, so the chemical is dividing itself easily with the spray. If you do it with water, you get a different picture. If you do it with a chemical, you will see surfactants for you working. Those surfactants, if you don't rinse them off properly, can give the idea that you killed something. So if you're using a sealant or whatever, and you're using a very harsh chemical, and you don't rinse properly, you still have a lot of surfactants left. They call it, every time somebody calls it, you need to throw an acid against them to neutralize it. But that you don't have to counter chemicalize something to make it neutral. You can just rinse with water, and then slowly but surely, the same effect happens if you make a dilution of Semper 1 to 100, and you wash your car with that. You will rinse for an hour before all the surfactants are gone. Because it's a hyper concentrated product.
There's like a film left behind.
Yeah, there's a film left behind. And the same goes for the surfactants in soaps, in detergents, in acids, in neutrals. If you have a too high of a concentration, there's a lot of surfactants that are going to stick to that surface, what they are designed to do. So the more of those chemicals are there, the more of those surfactants are there, the more you will have to rinse them off. So to say that a chemical destroyed the coating or destroyed the protection needs to make sure that those surfactants are gone before you can make a real judgment. Could be that you're still in a half-working chemical that still needs to be rinsed off. Maybe there's something happening still on the surface that is now being visualized by non-beating behavior. And you're assuming, oh, it's dead now because I used a harsh chemical, but it could still be the surfactants. You can throw some alcohol in it, some IPA, a little bit of a dilution, and it will flash off the surfactants. Could even pop up some beating if you're lucky. But don't worry about the foam. It's exothermic reaction with water. It's not nothing dangerous, but it's to rinse off very fast surfactants. But you can also counter it with an acid. That's also true.
So it's been a long time since I've like seen this or done it. So it's not been with your guys' products, but like this goes back years and years when I was first coating cars, like before 3pH was available, things like that. So iron remover was something I would use pretty often. And I would always see people like, oh man, the iron remover, it like killed my coating, whatever. You know, this is like a year or two into the coating being installed. But I would notice that during the wash, I could sit there and rinse and rinse and rinse and rinse. And it did, in fact, look like it damaged the coating or reduced the hydrophobics or whatever. But then you take your drying towel and you dry the car off and then hit it again with water and it's beating. I'm like, okay, it's obviously leaving a film and I'm just mechanically wiping it off with the drying towel. So it sounds like similar.
It's exactly the same, only in this case, the hand or the touch with the towel removed. That's what we said. The same with Omnia in the interior. We said if we clean leather with Omnia, you need a warm, damp, humid microfiber towel to wipe off the surfactants, because that's the only place you don't want these surfactants to leave behind. And that warmth and that rubbing, it is the mechanical, and the water in combination removes the surfactants, and therefore showing the true state of the protection.
Absolutely.
I mean, I have to make some examples about this. One day, this is going to lead to a video. I'm going to write this down, and I'm going to make a video about this, showing what surfactants do, and then give you an idea about what it looks like. Yeah, that's a good idea. Good. Guys, you see these podcasts? Inspiration, man, for future videos.
Yeah. The questions are great. I love it.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you, David and Megan. Okay, next question is from Patrick Riviera, and this is a lot of different questions, so we'll probably just break it up into some segments here. Just listen to the 2pH and 3pH podcast on my flight home. Thank you for listening. Thanks for bringing up my question. I'm very interested in the 3 Mafra chemicals Reggie mentioned that could save money, and I'm now very interested in trying the 2pH interior system. I was researching extractors and steamers, but it sounds like I may not need it. I know he mentioned the Labo 3pH is for maintaining coated cars, not for prepping cars when claying and polishing. Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
What do you recommend for that? for just straight up washing the vehicle? What if the car has previous protection that you want to get off? So it sounds like he's trying to figure out, if I know a little bit about Patrick's business, and it's like he's got his customers that have coated cars, and then he has his clients that just call him for detailing regularly. So 3pH might be overkill for those, customers that aren't in coatings. And also, like, when you're prep washing a vehicle, what's the best approach to take? I know you mentioned those Mafra chemicals.
Yeah, in the Maverick line, I was thinking that we are using, I think it's the Unica line. It's like the creme de la creme for the car wash industry. So the entire tunnel car wash system or box system or self-wash system can be supplied with a very special chemical line called the Unica line in Mafra. It is Shampoo Gautier inside. It is an absolute experience, fantastic chemicals, bang for buck. Products like that, also VDA certified. That's where they came from, and my God. Unica PR1 F02. I can name these chemicals, but they are not. I don't even know if they're available. So,
well, if they make them, we can get them. So
yeah, okay. So Unica PR1. That's the pre-wash. If you need more bang for your buck, you can even move to Doc G3. Oh, then you're touching something. We might as well kill the entire detailing industry. All the brands will disappear and Mafra will rule. Because every time I see a chemical, I see these guys, the mobile guys using a chemical, and I immediately know with my Dutch brain, I know one that can move better, give something special, and cost less, and then make better cleaning everything. And I think, yes, this one for this one. But there is a lot. Even in Maniac, you could substitute Primus for foam gun pre-wash. Mind yourself, not direct sunlight, cool surface. Foam gun pre-wash has the power, more of the power. Black and wrap shampoo, you can do something like that with in comparison with Purifica, but then Purifica will beat you with the dilution, so the cost for car will go down. And Maniac is then more of a also a maintenance type of a product that you can use. Neutral foam shampoo. Substitution for just some pre-wash, but then compensation a little bit for the harder waters. Let me see. Yeah, that could be. I don't think it's going to take long before you see the real Mafra catalog, and you start browsing, and you're going to ask me, why do you have so many of these? And then I'm going to say, because this is what the people want. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You are going to ask me which you get the questions that you don't want to ask, but you're going to say which one is the best, which one smells the best, and which one feels the slickest. 100%.
All right. So I'll follow up with Patrick on that too, and just hang tight, Patrick, because we are going to eventually go over all the Mafra stuff, that's going to be a lot of episodes, but I'm excited for that one. I'm still learning that line. But it's incredible. I was actually looking at a lot of the products for a customer who owns a car wash, a huge volume car wash. And it's just amazing how many different products you guys make. And a lot of them have like multiple uses. Like I was looking at Split. I was like, man, this is a cool product. It's like,
don't mention too much awesomeness. it's if people find out, if you really dive into chemicals and you really start to, if you say are really testing something, if you test like me, then you will find little pearls inside of the industry that can brighten your life, your wife's life, your grandmother's life, everybody's life. Everybody could benefit from a product like that. My God.
Oh yeah. It's we have some, so I'm gonna try it because I'm like, that's
oh man.
I did the thing. I feel like this is a recurring theme when it comes to y'all's products. I'm like, I do the thing where I just quickly read a label and I'm like, oh, I know what this does. But then I start reading in the cal. I'm like, oh shit, that actually does like a lot of cool stuff that I would have not guessed that it can do. So
same.
I'll kind of answer his question a little bit here. That last sentence. What if the car has previous protection you want to get off? This is just my opinion, and I'm sure you have some good input on this, Reggie, but like, I don't really know that everybody wants that. Everybody wants a foam cannon product that you spray on the car, you rinse it off, and it's like, oh, the protection's been killed. It's like at the end of the day, you're going to have to clay and polish if you truly want to like get a clean slate, at minimum clay, and do some heavy panel preps like Veritas or whatever. So I don't know of anything you guys make or anything in general that will actually do that. I know there's a lot of things that are marketed as doing that, but yeah. So
I would say any strong, fast, and cheap, because you're just getting, you're trying to get to that point why you are taking the car in. So if you want to take off that protection, everything until the touching is not going to guarantee the removal of the protection. So the touch, if it's claying or polishing, so that time before getting the car and that starting that polishing or claying should be extremely short. So if it's strong chemicals that are not safe, that are going to take off the dirt so you can start claying or you can start polishing, then use that. Don't even go into the safe range, because you're moving into a different direction. You want to get rid of the protection, so you either have to clay it or polish it. So do anything you can to shorten that time before you start actually claying or polishing, and then apply or reapply, or then do whatever is next in the project.
Yeah, agree. Another question from Patrick. What is your go-to interior spray for regularly maintained cars that you just have to wipe off light dust and clean fingerprints from screens, etc.? I somehow didn't copy the rest of his question here, but he was asking, is IGEA a good, I guess, he's kind of comparing that to like diluted Omnia for like an interior quick detailer.
If I do 20 cars a day, Omnia 1 to 10 is the interior. I can put on Omnia 1 to 10 in the rotor jet Tornador with a flask underneath it and use it as a spray and then dry it. But like we discussed in Omnia, touchless, just blast off the dust with a little bit of liquid, not even wipe it down, dry it immediately with air. If I have only 1-2 cars, I would say IGEA can do everything that it needs to do. Very low cost, very low effort. One wipe, max one finish wipe. You got the experience, you got the wipe down, you got the regrain technology. It's acidic, so you got some sanitizing going on. So it's going to be better than before. I will not say how clean it's going to be in sterility, but it will be cleaner than before. Taking off micro scale from humidity and dust that's starting to encrust on the dash, making a little bit dullness, so you got some potential of regraining. And then Omnia, 1 to 10. You can do a lot with 1 to 10. You can brush it, scrub it, extract it, spray it, clean it, basically everything. So if it's for the masses, 1 to 10 Omnia, and if it's just for occasions, I would say IGEA.
Okay. I've used IGEA a lot on my interior. My question is, I've not used Omnia in this use case. I've always done it like 1 to 5, like scrubbing, duo scrubber for the hard surfaces of the car. But how is it at 1 to 10 on like navigation screens and like piano black trim? Like, is it because IGEA, has that like it flashes off, like there's no streaks. Is Omnia the same, or is it?
Yeah, it's actually the same to have a perfect evaporation. So if you just make it wet and wipe and you see the evaporation at that dilution, there is no trace. It evaporates beautifully, perfectly. And Omnia has the certification. So if it needs to be cleaned and it needs to be eaten from, then it's going to be Omnia.
Okay. Sweet.
I'm apologizing, because we put so much things that a product can do in these products that I've just looked at the list. AI generated a list of the most common used dilutions. Oh my God. I can see it's overwhelming. It's a good thing we are doing these podcasts, man.
It is. It's super helpful for customers and for myself. I've learned a ton. So
yeah.
Chris Turpin's last question is actually the same thing. So do I need IGEA in my arsenal? I've been using Maniac Interior. I would just reference to the answer that Reggie just gave, kind of similar, to the Omnia versus IGEA discussion. So that is everything that I have on my list. Did you want me to pull up that list of kind of FAQs that you've gotten?
I say we finish up with the best that we could find from AI. So we would just pop it up inside of the screen, let the people look through. We'll give some. Oh my Lord, this is a lot. Now I remember. This is a lot. So, ladies and gentlemen, just to give some clarification, it's me and Nick. We are 2 guys, but we are not doing this by ourselves. We are helping with chat, AI, and stuff like that. But I have trust issues with humans, let alone with freaking code. I have trust issues with code, so I cannot just take this information as being the truth. I will take this information as a good start for something that I can finish, but I've already seen the PDF of the dilution ratios. I might as well rewrite it myself because there are so many crazy things in there. It suggested a foam gun dilution for Sempo. That's how I know that these AIs are not AIs, because any AI knows that you cannot do this. If you know, you know this. If you're AI, if you're not an AI, you don't know this. So it's just a very fast chatbot. Let's see. What is Sam? What does it work? I did not ask that question. I did not.
These are cool.
So let's pick one. Let's see if there's anything interesting inside.
What is Sam? How does it work? I would say, which coating kit is best for a beginner? Question number 3, because I get that one often.
Yeah. To be honest, to be really honest, if you are a beginner, HPC 2.0. Just even if you screw up with the preparation, everything, you will have a dream installation still. Even if you will not achieve the duration, the beginning will be fantastic, and it probably will lead to a very strong base into ceramic coating application. This is your starting point. If it needs to become better after this, and you want something extra, you want a little bit more kick, a little bit of that physicality, a little bit more of that abrasion resistance, then you move to SAM.
Right.
You can also move to HPC Pro, but you already did this chemical coating. Why would you do another chemical coating? You're going to have the same experience. You're going to have more duration. There's not going to be more gloss or anything. Go for something extra that will give you something extra. So you want abrasion resistance, so you can rub it a little bit more sturdy with that microfiber. So you go to SAM. And then if you say, okay, SAM is 1.5 years old, maybe I can a little touch it with Fierro. I'll buy HPC and top it off with that and start all over again. So HPC for beginners, and then when you're beginner that wants more, you buy some SAM.
Yeah, HPC is a great confidence booster if you're new to this, because I've
good one
so many times had people reach out, not even like products that we've sold them necessarily. Sometimes it has been, sometimes it's not, but like just absolutely frustrated because, you spend, especially as a beginner, what feels like days or whatever prepping this car and getting it ready, and you're just ready for the project to be done. You're excited to see the end result, and then you put on this challenging coating and it's just kicking your ass and it just ruins the whole thing. And you're like, nope, never again. I'm not doing this again, So HPC is a great starting point for sure. I mean, I could teach anybody to install it within a couple minutes. It's that easy. So oh wow, there's 5 pages.
I was pressing buttons. I was changing the slides. I did not know I was also capable of doing that.
Oh, you're good, man. You got full access here.
I got so I'm looking at this one. We're at the last page, I believe. I asked for something like 50 curing and post application, and then I see number 44. This is a really nice question. What does it say?
After HPC 2.0's I Forgive You technology, how long do I have to correct mistakes?
Holy crap, that is actually a good answer. Would you like to read the answer?
Yeah. Phase 1 is reversible for several hours after application. I can confirm that is true.
Yeah.
Errors such as streaks or high spots can be corrected by wiping during this window. Phase 2 completes within 8 hours, after which the coating is fully cured and corrections are no longer possible without mechanical removal. I will say I have come in the next day, which is well past 8 hours, and Veritas diluted, removed high spots. So it's not saying that's always going to be the case, but I would say even after 8 hours, you've got a little bit of time.
Yeah, and the bonus is, I think this is because the HPC2 is, I think, I would say more of a clear coating, so it doesn't darken or make it the aesthetics change very much or brighten as much. It's more into what a coating does. So the mistakes are also easily forgivable, more difficult, easier to remove, but also more difficult to spot because if you take an older coating with the polymers, you had that big darkening effect. You got these huge shadows or these huge high spots.
Yep.
So that is also very nice to have it as a beginner. But that phase, like you say, yes, it can shift a little bit, but you have more than 4 hours to find a mistake. So you can walk around for the car for 4 hours, and if after 4 hours you will definitely, or if maybe you find a mistake, you will 100% have the opportunity to remove that without any difficulties.
For sure. So this is a good one. How often should I perform a maintenance wash on a coated car? It's suggesting 3 pH wash every 60 to 90 days. Obviously, we'll assume this is a daily driver, average daily. Regular wash.
60, 90 days. It is either every 2 months or every 3 months. I would rather see the 2 months, but I rather see that they intervene before it is 2 months. So if there's something happening in week 4, 5, or week 6, maybe it's time to start. Don't wait until it's 8 weeks and then say, okay, I see a clogged coating, because then you're relying on the chemical too much. The chemical is there. It's going to help you. It's fantastic. It has capabilities of rejuvenating coatings beyond recognition. But the goal is to not have to use that way to use the product. It would be better if you just do it mildly, repeatedly, with a nice interval before you start using these chemicals extremely. I think it's such a waste of time. It's such a waste of money. I work for this company, and I'm still trying to save you guys some cash. This is very bad for business. What kind of a commercial guy is this? My God. But it's I would say every 2 months it definitely needs a checkup. If you will need it, that will be the second thing, but give it at least every 2 months for a good checkup.
I agree. I feel like a lot of people get disappointed with coatings, and sometimes it's due to the coating just not being a good coating, but a lot of times I think it just comes down to, if they had 3 pH, their experience would be a lot better.
Yeah, I think also that people need to realize you're paying for the attempt, not for the success, because I'm guaranteeing that I'm confident that 99% of all manufacturers are doing the absolute best they can to make the best formulations they think they have with their testing. And we understand they have to do an ASTM test. We understand they have to do the ISO test. They can't do real life testing because they have to have these accelerated lab tests. But based on that data, and these guys are scientists that actually went to school, that actually have a chemistry degree, that actually understand what the F is going on these cars, we have to assume that product is okay. And there will always be a fluke. There will always be a little one, bit of it, but you will see that the majority of people using the product have success. And then some people don't. And then you can debate about what that reason is. But realize you are paying for the attempt, not for the success. You will have to do the preparation. You are responsible for the amount. You are responsible for wipe off. High spots, there is no coating in the world that makes high spots. It's the person applying the coating making the high spots and not removing them. The coating itself in that bottle is not going to land on the car making a high spot, people. It is you. So you need to make sure you don't make high spots. And if you do, you need to make sure how to remove them. And in any fail case, if the car lights on fire, you need to know where the fire extinguisher is. But all these things are in your hands.
I agree. My mind immediately goes to PPF when you say that, because that's a real sensitive topic. And it's a completely different topic. But what you're saying about coatings is 100% true. It's if you have high spots, it's user error. It's not.
Yeah, it's too little or too much or whatever happened, but it's still there. You didn't wipe it off. Now it's showing. People chasing it with the lights. Use something white, a white board or something. Refract your light, diffuse it, and then you will see the high spots. And then, but people said, but inside there was no problem. Now I put it outside, and now all these shadows are there
on a nice overcast day.
They were already there, but now they are showing because you have the right light. And I'm using the same. I'm using the diffuser on the flex light, so the flex light's hanging above the camera to give me this very good show of showing how old I'm getting because of the hair retracting here. With this light, it's never been this bad, man. What the fuck?
You got to put the hat on, man. That's
True.
the trick.
True. Or change the camera angle back down so we can look from my face here. This is already better. But no, I mean seriously.
I like number 5, and we touched on this in a previous podcast, but
yes,
are all Labocosmetica coatings PFAS-free? Yes. All Labocosmetica coatings are 100% PFAS-free and comply with VOC content limits under EU Directive 2004/42 EC and UNIEN ISO, a whole bunch of numbers. Labocosmetica is the only detailing brand to publicly certify this across its entire product line.
I'm still going to verify those numbers. It's AI, so it sounds familiar, but let's double check that. But it's true, yes. 2019 was PFAS-free moment for Labocosmetica. And since then, Mafra has done much more. It's logically because they are older, but they have a more impressive list if you see what they have done, because they have beat the law many times before it became a law. So Mafra had a history of finding stuff out or finding ways to make the products better. So better for the environment, better for the user, better for the service. And a couple of years later, these changes they made became mandatory for all others, removing NTAs, EDTAs, harsh stuff, dangerous stuff, carcinogenic stuff. It's still not drinkable stuff. Let that be true. Let that be said. But Labocosmetica makes it its pride by being the first in saying that we are PFAS free. And we'll probably continue this road. So if the PFOA or the PFA becomes illegal or dangerous and we will find substitutions, we will be the first to do that. And then everybody else can just follow and do the best for the right thing. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, we have been PFAS free from the beginning. And now there are PFAS free people coming. But remember that they sold you PFAS products all that time. And now they are not doing it anymore, but they sold them to you. And they knew. They can't say they didn't know, but they knew. Sorry. I don't want to point any fingers.
Well, I don't know enough about it, but I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to look more into that certification and those numbers because I see it getting claimed more, so I don't know what the standard is or what's the proof or the verification that you are actually abiding by that. So
my biggest problem is with the discovery of the databases. So the discovery of new PFAS that had not been identified before, adding to the database. So if the database is constantly changing and expanding and becoming bigger and bigger, that means you will have to be retested every once in a while to see if you're still following the original database or the updated database. So you're no longer 100% PFAS free, only maybe 80% PFAS free. And if you are choosing from outside of the database, you are still PFAS-free, although you're using PFAS, but they're not in the database and therefore not being identified as PFAS, and you can say you are PFAS-free. I take that in one breath.
Yep. It's, But I have mixed feelings on it. Kind of with you, like, it's certainly not a negative thing, to be taking these harmful things out. It's a great thing, but, like, I can't help but, like, my, radar goes off a little bit. I'm like, I get skeptical, I'm like, are they actually, or is this just a claim? Like,
yeah, obviously, because, diversion is one of the beautiful things, it's why magic is so encapsulating, because you are being distracted. So distracted diversion, if they're now focusing on we are PFAS free, or the same with us, we say PFAS free. Okay, but what if we were PFAS free, but we are using like depleted uranium in the soaps? It has to be across the board. You cannot just say, okay, we are inventing nuclear stuff to clean cars, but we are PFAS free for the coatings. We try to use this philosophy as for us, it's the DNA to be VDA certified, PFAS free, safe for all surfaces, safe for the user, as safe as possible, of course. I mean, still PPE is very important, but we have the capability of doing this. And if this sets the standard every single time, we don't need the credit. We don't need to be called every time, we had it from. It's not necessary if it leads to something great. If it leads to the improvement of the industry for better products, healthier people, better users, more satisfied users, then it's beneficial for the entire, because then everybody benefits from this. Every single brand benefits. Because you have these rotten apples.
Raising
Yeah,
the bar, man.
exactly. Keep raising that bar. No, instead of if you can't beat them, join them. No. If you can't beat them, lead them.
That's it.
Take the freaking flag, pick it up, walk to the front, take point, take the bullets, take all the hits, take all the negativity, and then lift off. You know what we did, and then everything will be fine. Fuck it.
That's it, man. I agree. Totally. Well, that's all the questions I have. Is there anything else that you've got? Anybody sent your way that we haven't discussed yet?
I'm thinking. I'm going to throw this out there. So Nick gave you guys the email for the podcast for the questions.
Mm-hmm.
If you have inspiration for videos or inspiration for reels or stuff, let me know. Let me know, please. I have too much inspiration, but I want to generate the inspiration based on the demand of the people, and not forcing them information that's stuck in my brain and you don't want to be there. It's very busy. It's very crowded in there. And so it's already difficult enough for me, myself, alone inside of here. But if you have good ideas, let us know. And in the future, I'm more than willing to sacrifice some sleep to do this at Saturday night, 8 p.m. and do an actual live. So if you just let know, if we have enough, if we have 10 people, is 10 people enough for you to do a live?
It is for me, man. I mean, I just think of like when I've done trainings or had car clubs here and we've done like DIY days, like 10's actually a pretty good number because you can manage, you don't have all these differing conversations pulling you in 5 different directions, and it tends to stay kind of focused. And anything past 10, man, you need like a moderator.
You would need a moderator. So if it happens to be 10 plus, if you are a moderator, you have experience with StreamYard, please let us know at the podcast email to send your resume, please. And because I would like to have most of the time, I want to be a live for the people so that we keep flying through these questions. We have the tendency to, at least you don't have the tendency, but I have the tendency to digress a little bit, to go off subject. But with these nights,
I'm that way too.
I just want to sit down. I would just answer as many questions and actually talk to the people. I really like that. Maybe if we can invite them, inside. So if they have a location like this and they can sit in front of a mic and they have a laptop, we can ask them to come inside of the studio, to go inside of the live with us live. Yes.
Yeah, let's do it. Well, let us know, guys. Is that something? If that is something that you guys want to do, we are down. So
I want to do this for the people, man. Power to the people.
Sure, it'll happen at some point. Awesome, man. Well, that's all I've got. I think this was really, really productive, and I know that as a few more episodes go by, we will just get more questions. So we'll do another one of these, whether it's live or pre-recorded. But next episode for everyone to keep an eye out for is going to be on the exterior protection, the non-ceramic protection for the outside of the vehicle from Labo. So I'm super excited for that one. And if you have any questions, shoot them to podcast@parkscarcare.com. And you can find the products on Parks Car Care. You can find them on the Labocosmetica USA website or through any of our excellent resellers. We have plenty here in the US. And as always, if you guys have any questions, just give us a shout.
Great show, man. Thanks everybody for watching.
Yeah. Thank you, Reggie. Appreciate your time, man.
Every time, man. Most welcome.
See ya.
Ciao, guys.